Hello, everyone! Blue Star Saber here once again. Well, maybe not once again, but I'm here to discuss a stream, but not a manga, not an anime, not a Spider-Man comic or Star Wars stream. This time, I'm here to discuss a movie with my friend Lucky Chi 7. Let's see, Godzilla vs Kong. Hello, Lucky Chi. Introduce yourself.
What's going on, guys? What's going on? And there's a reason why we call Godzilla King. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, but anyway, but yes, we'll see. We're here to discuss the fourth film in Warner Brothers Monsterverse.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, Godzilla vs. Kong, in which finally, after many decades, the king of the monsters has a rematch against the eighth wonder of the world and all that stuff in this epic battle that many of people have waited for ages. But before we get into that, I guess we could get into the bit of history between the two characters and that stuff, particularly, let's see, who owns what and what, let's see, how they had the first fight and why it took so long to get another one. Now, for those who do not know, King Kong was actually the first monster to be, of these two monsters to be, these two Titan monsters to be created.
Definitely.
Yeah, created by Maren C. Cooper and Ernest B. Subdak. Let's see, who created King Kong in 1933, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, or Igor Wallace, I think. It's Igor Wallace and Maren C. Cooper. Ian Burness was I think produced the film. My mistake there.
Yep.
Let's see, the smash hit of King Kong, which for its time, I believe, in which, you know, you had like people exploring an island and all that stuff, women being sacrificed to Kong, but Kong falls in love with the woman, I guess you could, as you will, or becomes attached to her or something.
Mm-hmm.
Saves her from a few bunch of dinosaurs. Eventually, the girl gets rescued by the other crew members, and Kong gets captured. Displayed for the world, starts a rampage across New York City and gets killed by planes. With, I think, someone making the comment, it wasn't the planes that got him, it was beauty that killed the beast. And yeah, so let's see, with that kind of thing, you kind of think that King Kong is only going to be like, what's a one-time film kind of thing, but let's see, eventually, I think a film this following year, or just as the year end, called The Son of Kong was created, I believe. It's the end, which I think the film, probably speaks for itself, probably follows The Son of Kong, though I don't know the plot of the film, but from my understanding, it received a bit of a mixed response, and afterwards, there was no Kong movies for a very, very long time. Let's see, but anyway, getting to Godzilla, as we know, let's see, for those who may know Godzilla, it was first appeared in the 1954 movie. Let's see, just titled, I believe, Godzilla, in which I believe it was just generally him just committing a rampages across the, Japan and all that stuff, until eventually, I think he ended up getting killed or something in the end of that film. I'm not sure. I haven't really watched the old Godzilla films, or like particularly not really any of them really. Which I believe the first era is called the Showa era, in which the first film was in. The following year later, Godzilla. There was a new film called Godzilla Raids Again, where I think Godzilla was, referred to be alive, and then then I think fighting another monster, and this is where Godzilla ended up changing from the doomsday for like Japan to its reluctant ally and savior, I guess. And that's been the formula, I think, for movies ever since. But this apparently film wasn't exactly successful, but but granted, fine enough. Fine enough. Lucky Chi, I believe. The third film for each of these respective films, would be King Kong versus Godzilla. So pretty much, yeah. So yeah, they had the original King Kong, and then you had the Son of Kong. for King Kong, and then you had Godzilla, and then Godzilla raids again. Now for King Kong, let's see, there would not be a new film, let's see, in nearly 30 years, let's see, really. I mean, because King Kong versus Godzilla was like in 1962, just 1 year off from like the 30th anniversary of King Kong and all that stuff. So King Kong did not get a sequel again until like, nearly 3 decades, as you will. And for Godzilla, let's see, Godzilla Raids Again came out 7 years before King Kong versus Godzilla, in which, from what I understand, Japan, let's see, for their version of King Kong, I think King Kong's had quite a few Japanese anime adaptations and all that stuff.
A few, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's regarded as the Toho version, in which, let's see, I think they had like a cartoon show and all that stuff in the Toho film. And apparently the studio got the license the character from RKO and produced 2 films that feature the character. The first, of course, being King Kong versus Godzilla and all that stuff, and then 1967's Kong Escape, which apparently this one was a lot larger and much stronger version of Kong and all that stuff compared to what his original film was. And he's much more intelligent and all that stuff, so yeah. Let's see, so yeah, the 2 fought, and from what I understand, it was, let's see, Godzilla's most successful film in Japan and all that stuff, or most financially successful, or the most popular film in that, or at least one of the most popular. But from my understanding, it apparently revived the Godzilla franchise after, I assume the first sequel didn't really make the studio's expectations on that stuff. So yeah, so it was a massive hit. However, from my understanding, let's see, ownership rights of Kong had been a bit, not properly handled, all that stuff. And apparently Kong's creator, Merlin C. Cooper, assumed that he had the rights or something, or is it a he? Yeah, it's a he. Yeah. Apparently, he assumed he had the rights, but he was not. Happy that his that his character was being used in Japan films and that stuff. So eventually, I think he ended up, there was some sort of thing where either the studios in America or Cooper himself wanted to have Kong back. So the film rights to Kong eventually turned to America and stuff, and where they would, do their own films again for like King Kong and all that stuff. Now, granted, so which is why, Japan didn't really get, Japan was only able to make one other film called King Kong's Escapes, in which, from my understanding in that film, I think I saw a brief of it on TV, in which King Kong fights a mechanized version of himself. So, yeah. But as a result, Godzilla's franchise in Japan was revived, and he got, like, multiple films. I think, counting like the American films that counting like the Toho films, all the Japan films, like from the Shoso era, from the Heisei era, and the Millennium era, and the current Reiwa era. I apologize if I'm pronouncing these words, the Japanese eras wrongly. It's a very hot wrongly and all that stuff. Godzilla has had a total of 32 films, 36 if you include the 1998 Godzilla film.
Yeah, I was going to say it's technically 94, but
yeah,
36
right now. But yeah. And the 3 Godzilla movies that Legendary Pictures or Warner Brothers have made with their MonsterVerse and all that stuff. So yeah. while King Kong has only really had a total of 12 films. Besides, besides like King Kong, Song of Kong, King Kong versus Godzilla, King Kong Escapes, the film we talked about. There was another, produced film called King Kong from 1976 which may be a remake of the original, I think. I'm not sure, I don't know. And then there's King Kong's Lives from 1986. The Mighty Kong in 1998, which seems to be an animated version of King Kong. One in 2005 called King Kong, King of Atlantis, which must be, I assume, a TV movie or something. Maybe another animated one. And then, of course, 2005, which most people probably remember as the latest edition of Kong before the Monsterverse.
The one that Peter Jackson had done.
Which I actually have seen most
of.
of it.
I've seen that one too, and it's pretty good with what he was able to do. Again, it's technically the same story. It's just more. At the time, it was modernized. So it was more of a modernized version of.
And much more, better effects and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. True.
Granted, I believe there were talks of them trying to do a sequel or prequel for King Kong for that film. But
yeah, I do remember that too. But I don't think I got anyone. That's how you get what we currently have.
Yeah, but it never ended up being developed. Granted, there was one more film before Skull Island, and there was apparently King Kong Return to the Jungle. I have no idea what that one is. It might have been a TV movie or pilot or something. I don't know. But the point is, not since 2000 until 2000. It would be 11 years again before King Kong would, get another film because, well, because America makes a lot less King Kong films than Japan does with Godzilla. But funny enough, Japan actually wanted to make a few attempts of having King Kong, appear again in their Godzilla films, as apparently it was, as it was like one of their most successful films of all, in the Godzilla franchise and that stuff. And I think they planned in 1966 to have him in the film called Operation Robson's Crow's King Kong versus Ibabrath, which I assume is some sort of Japanese monster that Godzilla often fights, or maybe some new one. But the project, the King Kong license, some of the people backed out of the project, and the King Kong license, I think, went back to America and all that stuff. Which eventually they did it. So yeah, and apparently at some point the studio wanted to remake the King Kong versus Godzilla film, but in 1991 to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the film and all that stuff, and to celebrate Godzilla's upcoming 40th anniversary. However, they were unable to obtain the rights of Kong, and I think they ended up trying to use Mecha. And I did try to use Mecha Kong as well, but apparently they cannot use mechanical creatures that resemble Kong either. Instead, so Kong was out and Mecha Kong was out. So eventually, they resulted in doing Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, which is probably Godzilla's most famous enemy, a rival, if you will, in the Japanese films, I believe. And apparently the last attempt before that was in 2004's Godzilla Final Wars. So yeah, King Kong and Godzilla, so trying to get King Kong and Godzilla to happen again after so long seems to be quite the doozy, wouldn't you say, Lucky Chi?
It really was.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a shame, I guess. I mean, I suppose if King Kong could have still been used by Toei films and all that stuff, we would have seen, besides maybe Godzilla movies, we might have seen a few more King Kong movies of him either battling other Japanese monsters or maybe even original monsters and creations like Mecha Kong. But, well, it is what it is. So it's why Kong has a lot less lore and mythology than I'd say a Godzilla, at least in terms of movies and stuff. Though King Kong has cameoed and appeared in other like movies, comics, shows, and all that stuff, but more of just like it's King Kong rather than just expanding Kong's own lore. Though granted, Kong has had a few TV series, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
I think there was this one animated series where I remember that Kong could merge inside the human with a human brain and something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't recall where it was, but I think some people might know what it is. But I mean, I saw it sometimes on TV. But yeah. But either way, let's see. But yeah, however, eventually Legendary Pictures or Warner Brothers or both really eventually acquired the rights of Godzilla, and they started making the Godzilla movies, starting with 2013, in which despite being titled Godzilla, the main criticism of that film is that Godzilla appears for the total of 10 to 20 minutes in total of that film. I mean, I haven't really. It's the only one of the MonsterVerse I haven't seen, but I assume you've seen it, Lakichi.
What? The original Godzilla, right?
2013.
14.
2014, sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, I'll say this. Out of the 4 that we've gotten, okay, I like the movie, but one major criticism you could say is Godzilla's not in the movie a whole lot, but, which is a downside, but it's a fine movie.
Well, from what I saw people got and from the YouTube clips, people really liked seeing what they did with the Godzilla there. So it's like they wanted more of it, and it's especially much more popular compared to like the attempt that America tried to do in 1998.
Yeah, but
which is so infamous.
And they tried to sequel bait that too at the very end. I don't know if you recall that, but that's...
I never really fully watched that movie, which tells me I probably dodged the bullet.
Well, okay, here's the thing. The 1998 movie may not have been that good, but you get a good follow-up cartoon series with Godzilla series, and I actually like that show.
Yeah. Now, I believe the Godzilla in that film is now referred to as Zilla, and apparently Japan does not like this Zilla so much that they eventually had Zilla appear in one of their Godzilla movies, and have Godzilla easily kill him in like 40 seconds or something.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, ouch, that is harsh.
It is. I was like, if you wanted a very, very blunt way of showing your hatred, that's one way to do it. I was like, huh, okay.
Yeah. Let's see, poor Zilla, I guess, but oh well, I'm not too fussed about it. But yeah. So anyway, with like 2014's Godzilla, let's see, at least being a successful hit, they decided to start building more of a MonsterVerse, and the follow-up film was 3 years later was Kong Skull Island, which set like a few years before Godzilla, and it was like Kong in Vietnam and all that stuff, which is very, or at least just the aftermath of Vietnam. So it's a very interesting time period and stuff. But let's see, but yeah, it's pretty much, you had like Tom Hiddleston, Brie Larson, Samuel L. Jackson, and I'm trying to remember who that World War II pilot was portrayed by.
Yeah, I'm gonna blink on that too.
Let's see how let's see King Kong, Skull Island. Let's see, so yeah, Kong Skull Island. I'm trying to remember the human. Let's see, Hank Mo, which is Hank Mo. Let's see, the pilot's called American pilot Hank Marlowe. I'm just trying to find the name. There's Hank Marlowe. There's I'm trying to find the name. Man, this is I'm wasting time on this. I want to get this done. Here it is. John C. Riley. It's a famous comedian. Ritzy, you might remember him from the first Guardians of the Galaxy film.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, he's also the voice of Wreck-It Ralph, which I did not know that, but yeah. But yeah, those four famous actors and Kong Skull Island, which had pretty much them trying to escape the island and all its monsters while being helped by Kong, or some trying to kill Kong because let's see, one guy because Samuel L. Jackson's character had a grudge, especially after losing Vietnam, the Vietnam War and all that stuff. But yeah, but it was sort of slowly building up, like the MonsterVerse film world and all that stuff, particularly more details on Monarch, I suppose the MonsterVerse's version of S.H.I.E.L.D., but the guys that you need to stick around rather than S.H.I.E.L.D. being taken out of the equation in Phase 2, really.
More or less.
As they're the ones that keep an eye on all the monsters and make sure that, let's see, the good monsters help defeat the bad ones and all that stuff, so yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you had like post-credit scenes building up all the other monsters that Godzilla was going to fight in King of the Monsters, in which which introduced many of the classic Japanese monsters into the MonsterVerse, such as King Ghidorah, Mothra, and Rodan, which made the film, I think, mostly a Godzilla and Mothra versus Ghidorah and Rodan film at the end and all that stuff, but as we know, this was this film did not really receive the warm reception that the other two films, the first Godzilla and Kong Skull Island, did with critics who did not really like the film.
Ironically, though, the same thing they said about Godzilla King of the Monsters is what they praised about Pacific Rim. So, double standards much?
Well, I wouldn't know since I've not watched Pacific Rim, and I've not really.
Like if you look at what they've said, it's the same thing. I'm like, okay.
Okay, okay, fair enough. Though who knows? Perhaps maybe if I had to guess, in that they just assumed that King of the Monsters was ripping off Pacific Rim or something. I don't know, but either way. Critics did not like it. Granted, I do know that, those that did like the film, one thing they would complain about was the human subplot being a bit ridiculous. But that didn't really matter to most people as long as they got to see Godzilla in all his glory, which they saw a lot more of him due to his couple of fights against King Ghidorah in the movie and all that stuff. So we got a lot more of him. And it was also, unfortunately, the last film that we will see of the Let Them Fight guy, because he now sacrifices his life by the end of it and all that stuff.
Yeah, Cerizal was cool.
Yeah. I think many people were hoping he'd be the Nick Fury of the MonsterVerse. But I guess he only had a contract for 2 films. So there. But yeah, it was a bit. So unfortunately for like the Godzilla King of the Monsters, it didn't make enough to break even, and it was considered, I think, a financial disappointment. Not a box office bomb per se, but not really what the money the studio was hoping for. Though luckily for us, luckily for MonsterVerse fans or Kong or Godzilla fans, or those who are waiting for Kong versus Godzilla. Godzilla versus Kong was already in pre-production as King of the Monsters was released in the cinema and all that stuff. So, yeah. So, regardless of what was going to happen, we were going to get this film and all that stuff. Now, I'm not sure how hyped people were for this film because, it's just it's just another monster movie and all that stuff. However, the pandemic happened, so movies did not come out in the cinema. So I believe Kong versus Godzilla was delayed for a year. And then eventually that epic trailer of "Here we go" came out, and it just got everyone hyped to go and see this movie. It's like, let's see, it just got, it was just like, it seemed to be the most, for me, it was definitely the most hyped movie trailer since the first Infinity War when, with that dun 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 soundtrack and all that stuff. So it's like, I was excited. I don't know. How did you react when you first saw the trailer?
To be perfectly honest, it was the same way you were. I remember watching the trailer, and I was like, "Hmm, all right, that's actually pretty interesting." I mean, I can't say it was like super super interesting, but I was like, "All right, I'm curious." Like, because again, if you're coming off from King of the Monsters, you kind of know that how Godzilla. I can't really say he was saving people per se, but he was doing what he had to do to take out Ghidorah. So the fact that they were making it seem like Godzilla was a villain, I was like, okay, there's a definite reason behind it, and then that's the thing that got me intrigued. I was like, all right, because I mean, yeah, you could say there was the whole argument of, all right, there's a reason why these two guys fight, but you know, that's where my intrigue was really. I was like, all right, like the fight's cool, and I was looking forward to the fight, but I was also more so just like, okay, what exactly is he after? You know,
Yeah.
that was my big intrigue.
So yeah, it definitely say it was a bit intriguing. Like, okay, it's because the way this movie was titling, who would win and who will fall and all that stuff. Now, I doubt that they would kill off either Godzilla or Kong in this, but it's clearly pretty implying that there's going to be a definitive winner, which
There was technically.
yeah, we'll get to that in the future. But this is very intriguing because like. In many ways, of course, let's see, this isn't the first time Warner Brothers tried to hype us up for a Versus movie, as they did that with, let's see, Batman v Superman. Though, granted, that first trailer, I would also say, was pretty good for that thing. But then I think they revealed too much in the following trailers.
The third trailer, I think, is where they kind of messed up.
Yeah.
Or it wasn't the second trailer. I think it was the second trailer.
Yeah. Now, of course, due to like, let's see, COVID and stuff, let's see, this film would be, this film was delayed and all that stuff, but eventually it was coming out on both the cinema and HBO Max streaming service, which was quite successful there, from my understanding from those who watch in America, because, well, we don't have that here in the UK. You have to rent it online for that. It probably was pretty popular in the renting as that. But it was also but for many people, this movie was like the first big film to come back for the big blockbusters. Like, so for many people, it's like returning to the cinema to see a giant monkey fight a giant lizard. just the silly entertainment that they want to see in the cinema after nearly 2 years of absence, I guess you could say. Well, a year of absence and all that stuff, but yeah. I mean, I managed to see Wonder Woman, it's in 1984, the year before in cinema, but the movie is not as good as the first one, to say the least, but yeah. But this movie, I definitely say if it wasn't for the trailer and this movie and like all the hype building up to it, I definitely say the film for 2021 I was most interested in seeing was Black Widow, since it was the MCU's first official movie in Phase 4 and stuff, and see whether or not people would be interested in the MCU after the Endgame and all that stuff. I guess you could say they were with Spider-Man Far From Home, but yeah. But anyway, this film was up. But anyway, I think we've explained the history of like how these two end up fighting, and let's see how it took so long to get to this film where we are. I think it's time we finally now get into the plot of this movie. Wouldn't you say, Lucky Chi?
Mm-hmm. I think so too.
Because it's nearly been 30 minutes. But anyway. It takes 5 years. This movie is set 5 years after King of the Monsters, and we're first seen with King Kong apparently having this being appearing to be your average Joe, waking up, taking a shower, all that stuff. Meanwhile, we have like this little girl making a little King Kong doll in her arms and that stuff. However, let's see, King Kong is plucking a tree and moving like all the leaves and branches from it, and then throws it like a javelin into the sky, and it's revealed that it's a, computer image of like an entire dome projecting a sky to reveal that Kong is stuck inside a giant dome by Monarch in the hopes of trying to keep an inevitable conflict between Godzilla and Kong, since they're both alpha titans. So yeah. And eventually we cut to like this dude called Bernie Hayes, who's a Titan conspiracy theorist who does podcasts and has infiltrated a company called Apex Cybernetics, which seems to be a very ritzy company trying to build futuristic technology and all that stuff. And he's trying to gain some information of the company as he ends up becoming an employee to infiltrate it. And you can tell how much of a conspiracy theorist this guy is as he creeps out fellow employees. Granted, some of it on purpose to try and get like this one guy to leave like his computer, his computer, so he can hack in and download information. However, as he's doing this, Godzilla suddenly appears and attacks the Apex building in San Francisco, killing quite a few people and all that stuff. And for the public at large, it seems that Godzilla is no longer humanity's savior and protector. He is now their enemy.
Mm-hmm.
When we stumbled upon the two returning characters from from the previous film, particularly Godzilla, King of the Monsters, Maddie Russell and hold on, let me just rephrase that. I'm trying to remember. Dr. Muck Russell and his daughter, Maddie Russell, who's now, I believe, a high school teenager who listens to the Bernie podcast and, has become a massive supporter of Godzilla. Is trying to convince her father that something is provoking Godzilla. However, Mark has dismissed this and says to say that Godzilla's just now changed, and now we have to figure out why he's attacking us and all that stuff. So we got that. So it's like, so these are our new recurring characters, I guess, for the Godzilla franchise. Mark and Maddie Russell, father and daughter, the two survivors of their family after the mother was killed in the last film for trying to make amends for what she did to release all the monsters and devastate the world and all that stuff. Like, I think we even get like a little newspaper strip, Madison, of the Doctor. Hero or villain?
Yeah.
In the background and stuff, but yeah. I should probably comment on this part after probably when Godzilla and attacked San Francisco. Bernie discovers a metal eye in the underground basement of Apex, which, for those who may know, or those who know their Godzilla lore, or saw spoilers online, or saw the leaks online and all that stuff, because it was pretty. It was not that hard to get this spoiled. It's implying of a certain Godzilla foe, which we will get to in a bit later. But yeah, I should also probably comment that there's also this sort of like opening credits stuff in which showing video files and like Kong and Godzilla and all the monsters they fought and all that stuff.
Yeah, pretty much like a lead into what's happened before, which is interesting.
Yeah,
I thought it was a good way to kind of summarize everything that's happened if you haven't seen the movies.
Well, granted, it's also a bit interesting because usually this is the stuff you kind of see in the post credits these days. No, this time they decided to do it in the front for this movie. So yeah, it's very rare because I think because it used to be what the thing they used to do for films in the old days, but I think Star Wars changed that by having all the big credits and the director's stuff at the end and all that stuff. And that became the normal thing. It's why you have all those creative post credits, all these creative credit things that Marvel does for all their films. But yeah. But anyway, eventually we go to like this university and all that stuff. Someone called Dr. Nathan Land, who's a disgraced geologist who had like this sort of theory called of Hollow Earth, which I believe was mentioned in the last film by, I think, this dude with glasses.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, apparently he is greeted by Apex CEO Walter Simmons and his top scientist. I think it's I'm trying to find what his name is. His name is let's see, Ren Sisua, who I did not know this because the film never brought it up. I only know this because of Honest Trailer. Is apparently the son of the late monarch scientist Ishori Susawara, and he's like Apex's chief
Oh,
technologist.
Sarazawa, yeah.
Yeah, I did not know that. I didn't bring it up.
I think they brought it up that he was Sarazawa once. Like you gotta really pay attention to it because I didn't catch that the first time when I watched the second time. I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
I mean, I've watched the film a few times now, but I still can't tell when they bring this fact up and all that stuff. But yeah, but I don't know. You think they'd probably make a big deal about this since the "Let Them Fight" guy is literally the only human character people remember in the Godzilla films that Warner Brothers have done.
Yeah.
I mean, it's granted the only other human characters that are memorable are like the ones from like the Kong Skull Island, but I think that's mostly due to the actors rather than the characters themselves.
True.
But yeah, but I don't know. But it's kind of interesting because you'd think like, okay, this guy seems to have very clearly different ideals to what his father had when it came to Godzilla. Let's see, but anyway. Let's see. The Apex CEO is offering Nathan Land to fund his like project on like doing like exploring like his Earth. Let's see, Hollow Earth theory in order to try and find a power source that can rival and defeat Godzilla now that he's gone rogue and all that stuff. Eventually, Dr. Nathan Land decides that the best way to probably do it is to have a Titan lead us to the source, in which they decide to use, Kong, which he goes to his former colleague, Dr. Elon Andrews, who's the adopted mother of this little girl called Gia, who does sign language and can communicate to Kong and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Is against the whole project, and granted, she's regarded as Monarch's Kong whisperer and all that stuff. If you look at her magazine, she's against the idea until Dr. Nathan Land is able to persuade her that this will get Kong away from Godzilla and also can help them find a power source to fight back, and also solves the problem of like Monarch's struggle of trying to contain Kong as he gets bigger and bigger. So eventually, they get him on a giant military ship and getting escorted, which eventually also followed by which also for representing Apex is the CEO's daughter, who's bringing like the transports they need to go through the Hollow Earth as the gravitational pull kind of killed Dr. Nathan's brother and all that stuff from the last attempt to try and explore Hollow Earth. And I think one of the reasons why he's considered a bit of a crackpot with his book. Like his book got like bad reviews, as we saw, and he's like in the bottom of the university departments and all that stuff, and particularly his office and all that stuff. So yeah. Anyway, as they're traveling on the boat, we end up learning that a bit about this Gia girl, who was the last survivor from the natives of Skull Island due to a storm, and Kong saved her and has become a sort of like protector, sort of big brother figure to her. While the female doctor had like I should get the name up. Sorry, the name's just Elon Andrews, who I believe is portrayed by Rebecca Hall, who I think might have been in the third Iron Man movie. Yeah, I think she was in the third Iron Man film. You know that scientist that Tony Stark had a one night fling with?
Oh, is that her?
Yeah, I think that's her.
Oh, huh. Well, that's something I didn't know about.
Yeah. Yeah, as for like the actor who plays Dr. Nathan Land, his name is Alexander Stargard. I think was in the Legend of Tarzan movie that came out 5 years before this one.
Mm.
And he played as Eric Northman in the True Blood series. From what I'm looking at his Wikipedia page. So he's got a bit of an acting credential. But then again, most of the people that end up in these films end up doing so anyway. So yeah, anyway, it's revealed that, let's see, through this human girl, this deaf girl, Kong is able to learn and communicate with sign language and all that stuff. So showing that Kong has extreme signs of intelligence, perhaps more than any other portrayal of King Kong has had throughout the years. I wouldn't know because I haven't really seen all the films, but yeah. So yeah, but eventually Godzilla has sensed Kong's presence, and they fight on both in the ocean and the ships and all that stuff. Though first you had to have the humans try and release Kong from like his chains and all that stuff, and which made it pretty difficult since they were upside down in the water. And eventually you had like a Kong and a Godzilla fighting on the ship. But the fight ended up ending when Godzilla blasted in the air and then dragged Kong down to the water. The humans were able to help Kong, but he was worn out and tired. And the humans made it look like they were all dead and all that stuff. Making Godzilla think he won the fight and all that stuff. So round one goes to Godzilla. Which I suppose makes sense since, Godzilla has the advantage since he can breathe underwater and swim and all that stuff. While Kong is more of a land dweller. Meanwhile, while this is happening, Madison, listening to more of like a Bernie's podcast, is convinced that something's wrong with something has provoked Godzilla into attacking them. So she gets her other high school classmate, Josh, who's stolen his brother's van, to go find Bernie and how to trace this. They revealed that Bernie consumes a lot of bleach by showering it or something. So yeah, which Josh makes him think he's crazy, and it's like I think there was even a comment about how there was a school assembly of not trying to find these kind of people. So yeah. So eventually they find him. So eventually they're able to find Bernie through, by asking many different shops. Particularly when Josh bribed a retail shop owner about where to find him and all that stuff. And they eventually discuss like their fears and what Apex is doing to Godzilla to provoke him into attacking humans. And we reveal that Bernie had a wife that's now dead, and he has like a bottle of like thicker, I think, of the last drink she made for him or something, or bought for him, in which he will only drink it when he like gives up and stuff. So, which is, I suppose, trying to get a touching moment to try and sympathize with our conspiracy theorist. Well, let's see. Well, that I guess really depends on how invested you are in the humans of this world. Now, granted, there was also some talk about tap water. Something in the tap water that can, makes you, docile and easy to control or something. I know, it's just weird. But we're not really here to that. Anyway, the humans that are transporting Kong eventually, decide to try it through air by helicopters while they're carrying him in a giant net, since the ocean is no longer safe for Kong. Now that Godzilla will be able to sense his presence. So they eventually drag him to the Antarctica, in which they locate to the entrance to the Hollow Earth and stuff. However, Kong is not really interested in going until Dr. Eileen Andrews is persuaded by Nathan to have her tell Gia, the deaf girl, that Kong's family might be there, and he finally goes in and all that stuff, and followed by the Monarch scientists and Apex, all that stuff, as they're able to go through the wormhole stuff and survive as their hover transport vehicles do. And during the trip in there, one of the ships ends up getting destroyed by these flying monsters, which Kong ends up killing, though did need a little assistance from the humans. And then ends up eating the skull, ends up eating the organs of one, particularly the tongue and stuff, which Kong has a habit of eating slimy things. This Kong at least, though probably other Kongs as well. But yeah, I knew that the Kong in the original film liked to play with the dinosaurs' jaws and stuff.
He did.
That. Sorry, what, Lucky Chi?
I said he did.
So yeah. Anyway, we cut back to like let's see. I believe we cut back to like Madison's group with Josh and Bernie as they're exploring the Apex building. Though the mechanical eye is gone, they eventually go to the lower floors and eventually discover these pods things, and they hide inside them when they look like they're about to get caught. To find out that Apex has these baby egg skull crawlers, which let's see gets them really worried because like what do they plan to do with skull crawlers? And there's always the witsy, and if it was me, I'd be worried. Are these things going to hatch? Because I'm pretty certain they're going to eat us at the moment they hatch.
I'd be concerned if I were in that facility. I'd be like, yeah, no, let's go back the other direction.
Yeah, but unfortunately, they're stuck in there, and they're transported to Hong Kong. And all that stuff, but yeah. And then, which is revealed that Hong Kong, let's see, they're transported to this big arena thing, in which, let's see, Apex releases like a giant skull crawler for testing to fight none other than perhaps Godzilla's second most famous foe, Mecha Godzilla. No comment?
I was going to say this, like, I had my suspicions we were going to get to this point, but I want to say this is a little soon, but then I remember the after credits scene and Godzilla getting the monsters, and I'm thinking, well, technically speaking, there is a little bit of a groundwork there, so...
I have to admit, I was a bit granted, I don't really know much about Mechagodzilla's or past and all that stuff, but I do know that he was often regarded as the second most popular Godzilla opponent for him to fight besides Ghidorah and all that stuff.
Yeah, what I initially thought was maybe they go for Mechaghidorah, because I know that it's a thing technically, but I do. But part of me was like, well,
particularly with the post credits, with like post credit scenes with like a Tywin Lannister's character, buying the heads. It's like, okay, they're gonna try and recreate King Ghidorah with like a.
Yeah, no, like I did think that initially, but then I was like, well, they technically already took care of Ghidorah, and if you just bring Ghidorah back in, it would be a little bit like, well, technically that already happened. So.
Well, there's always the possibility that we will see more of King Ghidorah again, but we'll get to that in a bit. But yeah. Now, granted, for me, I already knew that Mechagodzilla was going to be in the film due to online spoilers and talks and leaks about it. And also
see, for me, I'll be honest, I avoided. I only saw the one trailer and I was like, all right, I'm done. I don't even see anything on that side.
See, guys, honestly, granted, it was not intentional on my part because I just wanted to see the trailers again because I just really loved watching that trailer. But it's like the next video after that was like Mechagodzilla versus Godzilla and all that stuff. It's like, damn it, you spoiled it for me. Granted, if it wasn't for all the leaks and all that stuff, I'd say that for the most part, they did a pretty good job of hiding Mechagodzilla from this compared to what DC did with Doomsday with the Dawn of Justice in the third trailer.
Yeah, well, what I would have done with Doomsday, and this is just my thing, I think you could have just had like a scream of Doomsday, not showcase him. It's like,
Yeah, but anyway, one thing I kind of wanted to get to, granted, the only time when you probably could have seen Mechagodzilla in the trailer, in any of the marketing that Warner Brothers has done, is maybe briefly in the trailer where there's this one scene where you see people running from like something that's crashing down, and you could see briefly Mechagodzilla, but you have to pay really close attention to that scene.
Yeah.
So otherwise, if it wasn't for like all the online spoilers and leaks and stuff, you probably would not have guessed that Mechagodzilla was in this film until you saw that metal eye at the beginning. It's like, oh, Mechagodzilla, because I was watching this film on my birthday with my mother and brother, and when my brother saw the metal eye, he ended up asking, is Mechagodzilla in this film? And I said, yeah, because I knew the spoilers and all that stuff. So, yeah. So, yeah, Mechagodzilla, and we see him easily kill this, Skullcrawler below. He's only at 40% of power and all that stuff. It's revealed that he's being piloted by the son of the Let Them Fight guy, which, it's one thing I'd probably say in this film, if it was a bit more explored enough, it'd be very interesting to see why this guy, it seems to be completely opposed to his father's ideals when it comes to Godzilla, was probably arguably Godzilla's biggest supporter before Madison. But we see Apex has created a Mecha Godzilla, and gritty cast of good humans, of Madison, Bernie, and Josh have realized that this is why Godzilla is attacking them, is that Apex is building a mechanical version of him to try and replace him. So it's like, yeah, Godzilla ain't happy about it. And funny enough, due to the fact that Mechagodzilla has been activated, Godzilla is able to sense his presence, and then is starting to move to Hong Kong, in which Mark Russell, who I assume is now probably the head of Monarch, is going there. I'm sorry, what?
I said I think so.
Or at least the lead scientist on Godzilla is now is also heading there to try and study Godzilla's behavior and try and figure out what he's doing and all that stuff. And also trying to get as many people safe as they can there. Meanwhile, Kong and his humans have finally reached the ancestral home of Kong and all that stuff, of Kong's ancestors. As he enters this sort of chamber or giant mansion, house, kingdom kind of thing, and there's a throne room, and he finds this sort of axe, which has got this sort of special stone that seems to be magnetic and flies in the air, attached to a bone to make an axe and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he sits on the throne as though he's finally returned to his proper kingdom and all that stuff. Now it seems like all his relatives and family members are dead and all that stuff, though there doesn't seem to be any around there. But we'll get to that in the future of Gritty of the Monsterverse thing. Eventually, he places the axe around this where all these other axes are ringed up, and it turns into this lighted energy dragon-like thing, revealing the power source that Apex needs, which the daughter of the Apex CEO starts having a drone extract a sample and that stuff with a scientist. Let's see, Elin Andrews saying that this is wrong. You shouldn't. This is the biggest discovery in the century and that stuff. You can't just strip it for parts. And this is where the sort of Apex crew turns on the scientists, and Godzilla and Kong not being happy. However, at the same time, Godzilla has arrived to Hong Kong and senses the energy source and that stuff, and maybe even Kong's presence. Starts firing one of his atomic breaths down to the earth to aim all the way down to the hollow earth, where the power source is connecting and all that stuff, causing blast and shake up, causing all the sort of vulture bat creatures to move about and stuff, and start eating some of the Apex scientists, and even attempt to try and eat Kong's human friends and all that stuff, with Dr. Nathan trying to sacrifice himself so that he doesn't harm the girl and Dr. Andrews and all that stuff. However, he gets saved by Godzilla's atomic breath reaching the surface, but at the same time it destroys Kong's new home and stuff. So Kong is now furious and starts to head off to ready to face a Godzilla, but not before killing the Apex crew there, as the daughter orders their ship to fire on him, which was a big mistake as he ends up crushing them, resulting in the death. But they've transferred the data they need to replicate the power source, in which the father needs to power up their Mecha Godzilla, though he's a bit rushing it despite the protests of his let's see, a head scientist, chief dev technology officer, Ren Shizura, who's been piloting the thing, saying, "We don't know how this will affect Mechagodzilla yet." However, let's see, the CEO is throwing caution to the wind and wants Mechagodzilla ready to face Godzilla. I should probably also comment during this whole thing. Madison's crew is able to discover that what they're using as a living computer to control the Mechagodzilla is King Ghidorah's head, or his skull now, as you will. Though whether or not this is the same skull that, the Tywin Lannister actor's character, which he purchased from a fisherman from the post-credits of like Godzilla King of the Monsters, remains to be seen or not. Has it been confirmed if it's the same skull he bought or not?
I don't think so. At least not yet.
I mean, granted, that might be the best bet of what it is, though we still don't really know what he actually wanted to do with the skull and all that stuff, because we do know that he was like an eco-terrorist that wanted to reshape the planet to a more environment-friendly, nature-friendly thing compared to what human industrialization has done to the planet. So I'm not sure if he would really. So I'm not really sure if he would actually sell the head to to create a mecha version of Godzilla and all that stuff. But I guess we have to wait and see. But we'll probably get more to that in later. But yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Madison's crew gets caught and all that stuff, and they're taken to the CEO, who reveals that his motivation for creating Mechagodzilla is to once again make humans the apex predators of the world, as with the arrival of Godzilla and the other Titans. Humans are no longer the dominant species of the planet, really, and they live
more or less is kind of what the subplot was for Godzilla King of the Monsters. So it's nothing too crazy, to say the least.
But yeah. So they created Mechagodzilla, which that's it. One thing I forgot to mention. From my understanding of the original Mechagodzilla lore in the first film he appeared in, he was created by aliens who were trying to invade the Earth but couldn't because of Godzilla. So they tried to create a better version of Godzilla, Mecha.
Yeah.
But eventually, later re-releases of when Japan finally decided to do, Godzilla versus Monsters, Round 2, or a sequel to those respective films, like finally having Godzilla having rematch with previous monsters, since some of those monsters were quite popular. Eventually when it came to Mechagodzilla's return in Mechagodzilla Kong vs. Mechagodzilla 2, it's eventually decided that Mechagodzilla would be created by humans as a means of deterring against Godzilla in case he goes rogue and stuff. But from my understanding, they would always lose control of the Mechagodzilla or something, or it mostly or be evil humans and all that stuff. But yeah. So yeah, that is the motivations of for the MonsterVerse, they decide to go with the latter thing, with humans creating Mechagodzilla to combat
Godzilla.
Godzilla. So yeah, which is probably the smarter of the two choices, if you ask me.
Definitely.
Since the original origin might be a bit too ridiculous for Western audiences and all that stuff, but yeah, in today's modern age and all that stuff. So yeah. Granted, I will admit, Apex is, Apex, who are now the futuristic bad guy mega corporation that they've decided to create for the MonsterVerse, at least with this film, I will admit, are pretty advanced compared to the other films of what we've seen of Godzilla and Kong.
I would say that, well, perhaps I know there's been a 5-year gap, but I think even with that, maybe that's a little bit of a stretch, maybe.
But I guess they needed the technology to create Mechagodzilla. However, let's see. So anyway, we should probably we'll get more into that. However, let's see. As we know, Godzilla has done an atomic breath to Kong and all that stuff, to Kong's home and all that stuff. So Kong, new home. So Kong has gone through like the hole that Godzilla has created. And round 2 of their fight happens in Hong Kong, which I have to admit, I was surprised that it was actually Hong Kong because I thought they would be fighting in Tokyo.
I thought that too. I was like, maybe they'd be fighting in Tokyo, but when it said Hong Kong, I'm like, well, I guess it's not too much of a stretch to think they'd fight there too.
I guess maybe it's possibly they're trying to appeal to like Chinese audiences or something, but I don't know. Maybe there's something wrong with me for being for assuming it was Tokyo. I guess I don't know. Though it seems like most people thought it was actually Tokyo or somewhere in Japan rather than China. But oh well, it doesn't really matter, I guess, really in the long scheme of things. But yeah, as Kong and Godzilla fight, and well. This time, Kong has the axe, and this time they're fighting on land, so this time, Kong does not have the disadvantage of the ocean. And you have Kong really using to his advantage, like all the skyscrapers and buildings to swing around and stuff, and to use his axe to block the atomic breath. We're eventually able to land a massive blow in Godzilla, apparently supposedly knocking him out, with Nathan going like, looks like round 2 goes to Kong.
It does.
However, let's see. This is very brief, as I think you have the scientist, because I think this is actually where like the CEO of Apex is actually talking with Madison and all that stuff, all of them getting captured, and it cuts back to them, and it seems like Godzilla has already gotten up from like being knocked down from the axe and all that stuff, and Kong's axe seems to have lost all the atomic breath power and energy power it has after that last blow and all that stuff. So either round 3 is starting straight away or round 2 part 2 and all that stuff. But yeah. But either way, you kind of got like let's see, Godzilla and Kong going at it again. However, this time Godzilla is going a lot more aggressive with the biting and the clawing, is able to land quite a few severe blows. Even Kong trying to crawl away and stuff. I think even have Godzilla biting on his foot and stuff, and actually doing enough damage to the chest. And eventually, he has his foot land on top of him. I also think you have Godzilla laughing at one point at Kong when the atomic breath hits him at some point, and then. You have the two iconic monsters roaring each other, but Kong seems to be too worn out and even dislocated his shoulder during the fight. And it looks like Godzilla has won round 3 or round 2 part 2. Making it look like you could either have it as 2-1 or 2-0. Either way, Godzilla appears to become the victor of the monsters and the king and the winner of the fights, much to the dismay of like Kong's supporting humans. As I think you also have Mark watching the fight from the background, or at least Godzilla's arrival, at least. But yeah. However, during this time, let's see, Apex has finally started to put the new power source into Mecha Godzilla. However, let's see, they lose control as Mecha Godzilla has now got a mind of its own. Though, if I had to guess, I'd probably theorize that it's very possible that the mind of King Ghidorah may have actually went inside, the Mecha Godzilla. At least since they're using his skull as like a...
Which wouldn't surprise me if that's what happened. I was like,
I know. I don't think it's been confirmed either way, but either way, he's taken control. And as like the CEO is like making a great speech about humans' dominance and all that stuff. Let's see, Madison and the other humans are like starting to walk away as they're starting to notice something wrong with Mecha Godzilla, and he finally noticed and he goes like, let's see, wow, a curse word, and Mecha Godzilla swipes at him, supposedly killing him and the other Apex workers there, though conveniently avoiding like the humans that are like a part of like a Madison's group, with Bernie saying, dang, I wanted to hear the rest of that speech. and Ren Shizawa is electrocuted by the inside the skull thing, supposedly killing him as well as Mecha Godzilla escapes from the building and all that stuff to arrive and starts attacking humans in locations, and then notices Godzilla. The two notice each other, and they start to fight and stuff. And it looks like Mecha Godzilla has the advantage, as you get like the other humans, such as Mark Ritzy, Maddie's daughter, Mark, Maddie's father, Mark Russell, and the Kong supporters the Kong humans going like, what the heck is that? As they see Mecha Godzilla fighting Godzilla, who's seemingly having the upper advantage with his missiles and cybernetic implants and technology and stuff. Even flying a punch of like sending Godzilla flying. So yeah, so you have like the Godzilla humans of Maddie's group trying to figure out how they can try and stop Mecha Godzilla by even trying to contact Monarch, or Josh trying to hack into their computer to try and shut him down and all that stuff. While the Kong humans with like Dr. Nathan and Andrews and Jiro are trying to keep Kong alive, as Jiro was able to was able to sense that Kong's heartbeat is going away, in which Dr. Nathan uses the ship they have left from because he was told earlier from the CEO's daughter that this device can to power this this vehicle, you could power up Las Vegas for a week, in which she's planning to set off sort of like an electric heart post thing to jog Kong's heart again, which she tells the other two to find enough safe space and all that stuff, because the electric thing could possibly affect the nearby and those around the nearby area. In which you get a touching moment between a Jiro and Nathan, as earlier both Jiro and Dr. Elon Andrews, in sign language, called Dr. Nathan Lind a sort of coward, but he didn't know what it was because he doesn't speak sign language. So they said it meant they're brave. And he ends up using the same sign language to say that, yeah, you're brave as well, not realizing that he's calling them both cowards. It's kind of funny, but also touching at the same time. Lucky Chi, you there?
I'm here.
So yeah, fair enough. So yeah, Kong's eventually gets shocked back to life and all that stuff, and Jiro explains to Kong that Godzilla's not the enemy right now, and it's this Mecha Godzilla. And so Kong and Godzilla team up against Mecha Godzilla with them trying to hold him down and fight him and all that stuff, with eventually Kong using the axes to push him back and stuff, but Mecha Godzilla's tail and all that stuff is nearly drilling into Kong and stuff. However, lucky for Kong, Madison's group with Josh, who after failing to hack into the thing, decides to use Bernie's a vodka drink thing to fry the computer, powering it down temporarily, allowing enough time for Mecha Godzilla to hesitate and slow down movement, allowing for Godzilla to blast his atomic breath into Kong's axe, in which the empowered axe is strong enough to cut through Mecha Godzilla's arms and legs, and eventually Kong rips out off his head, seemingly killing Mecha Godzilla. And you had this victory pose of King Kong showing it into the sky, going on, ooh, 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 and it's sort of really fashion, like you would with the T-Rexes in the original Kong movies, I believe. So yeah, with the threat of Mecha Godzilla over, Madison reunites with her father, who tells Josh to go away after trying to explain this was not my idea, and it's sort of ruining a touching father-daughter reunion. And with Maddie explained that Bernie helped save their lives, with Bernie trying to get Mark Russell to come onto his podcast and talk about Monarch and some conspiracy theory things, which I didn't really hear him agree to in the end or not, but No, but then you get like also like the Kong humans getting together again and that stuff, and it seems like everything is fine as everyone's just trying to recover from the damage, and you have Kong resting and all that stuff. However, Godzilla does a roar and it starts to come close towards Kitsy Kong again, and everyone's starting to wonder, are these two going to fight again after everything that's happened? However, it looks like Kong is starting to prepare for a fight. However, Godzilla does a few more roars, and Kong does some himself, but eventually just drops the axe and stuff, showing that he doesn't really want to fight, and that he doesn't want to fight Godzilla. And Godzilla just does another roar before walking away and going back into the ocean, seeming to, at least the two seem to acknowledge each other, or at least acknowledge that the two seem to have a truce with each other. I'm not sure what it's explained as Godzilla goes away, and you kind of see this brief scene of like all the human characters that we've seen throughout the film together in that final scene of just watching the two witty titans make amends or peace with each other or a truce. And the final scene of the movie cuts back to where Monarch has apparently now built a base inside Hollow Earth, in which Dr. Nathan and Andrews are there, monitoring there along with Jiro to keep a track on Kong, as he seems to have permanently moved in there and is exploring Hollow Earth, free to explore and stuff, as he's like seemingly now the king of Hollow Earth. And the film ends there. Blimey, that was a long summary. I think that's the longest I've done in a very long time. Lucky Chi there. Lucky Chi. Hello. Lucky Chi. So, Lucky Chi, what did you think of the film? Hello? Okay, but it looks like Lucky Chi's not here at the moment, folks, so I'll probably have to continue talking for a bit. Blimey, what a film, and I have to say, I think it lived up to the hype. It lived up to the hype. Let's see. When you say, let's see, I probably would say Lucky Chi, but you're not there. Let's see, first of all, I definitely say this is definitely, for me, the best blockbuster. Well, granted, there's been a very few films that have come out in the cinema that I've really watched this year. I've only really watched 3 films, though, which is Kong versus Godzilla versus Kong, the Demon Slayer movie, which is actually the best movie for the year for me, and Raya the Last Dragon, that, while it's on Disney Plus, ended up being in the cinema for a while, so I ended up seeing that just so I could see a Disney movie in the cinema. So there. So let's see. So there. So yeah. First of all, let's see. I definitely say the runtime was like. I definitely like. Let's see. It was definitely a shorter film than compared to the last one and that stuff, and I definitely like the fact that we got to see a lot more. Let's see. You definitely got to see a lot more Kong and a lot more Godzilla compared to like the other two. Let's see the other films that they've appeared in and that stuff. There's definitely a much more screen time compared to them. Granted, I definitely say Kong has definitely got the more focus of the film and all that stuff. So yeah. So I definitely say this feels more like a Kong film than just Kong versus Godzilla film, at least due to the middle arc of like Kong trying to find his family and all that stuff. So yeah, you had that sort of subplot and all that stuff. So yeah. I definitely like the fights that they did. I definitely say, let's see, my favorite is either the Hong Kong fight in which you had. Oh, you're back, Akichi.
Yeah, I'm here. What's up?
Sorry, I was wondering where you went, so I was trying to start narrating about I finished the summarizing, which is probably the longest summary I've done in a very long time. Again, it's a 2-hour movie. So yeah. But then, and not to mention, we talked bits and pieces of like other things, but yeah. So, Lucky Chi, what were your thoughts on the film?
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I must admit. Yeah, let's see. I definitely say I enjoyed it too. I was definitely commenting that this definitely, though, despite the fact that this is a Godzilla vs Kong movie, it does feel more like a Kong film than a.
I think it more so feels that way when we were talking about this off air, but I think it feels more like a Kong movie because
Of the middle.
halfway through the second act, you see more of Kong than you do of Godzilla.
Yeah, trying to explore his like origins and roots of where his family came and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, granted, because yeah, it doesn't because we do see bits of see Godzilla, though. Granted, it's more of just based on the Titan mythology about Kong species and Godzilla species, implying that there was a lot more of them back in the day.
Yeah.
Were at war with each other and all that stuff. So and then when they meet each other again, they're bound to fight and all that stuff, which they did.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. But in terms of the fights between Godzilla and Kong, all the fights of between all the monsters, what were your favorites out of the ones? Because there's like the ship battle, there was the this Hong Kong City, and of course there was the
I'd say the final battle was my favorite, truth be told.
Yeah, I'd like the team up fight as well. I mean, yeah. So yeah, granted, each of the fights were unique in its own way. Let's see the ship battle. You see, particularly since you clearly had Kong at a disadvantage here. Not to mention he was in chains because the humans were transporting him at the time. So yeah, Godzilla had the natural advantage as he could breathe in the water, and so Kong had to try and swim out of it with Godzilla trying to prevent him. With only Kong really having a sort of advantage of when he was like fighting and punching Godzilla on land and stuff, and able to push him off. I mean, I always still get hyped whenever I see that epic punch Kong does to Godzilla just as he's bored of the ship and all that stuff. That's probably my favorite punch in the film. Was shown in the trailer. Is what got me hyped to the film in the first place.
Yeah.
But yeah, it makes sense that Godzilla would win this round. It's because like Godzilla has the advantage in the water. But then when we get to the Hong Kong fight, let's see. Due to the Kong exploring his like origins, all that stuff, we end up seeing that he has this special axe thing that can block Godzilla's atomic breaths and all that stuff. Well, granted, as far as I know, the axe is a new thing added to the King Kong lore because I don't think any of the other films have ever had him with an axe, right?
I don't believe so.
But I definitely say that I think the directors and the film producers and all that stuff probably realized that Godzilla technically has the advantage over Kong due to the atomic breath, since Kong is mostly agile and strength.
Oh, definitely.
So they probably figured, you know what? Let's see, Kong species is particularly intelligent. So why not we created like a giant why not we give them like weapons of giant axes in which they probably use to fight Godzilla's species and stuff. And so with like the axe, Kong has quite the advantage, and I'd say he probably could even beat Godzilla with the axe, as Godzilla was kind of knocked out temporarily in round 2 and stuff, though. I think it'd be debated on whether or not, let's see, because I know the Blu-ray behind the scenes things should have like the Hong Kong fight as a whole as round 2, though. People may either just split up the fight between round 2 and round 3 in Hong Kong, depending on your preference. I don't know. Do you think round 2 of Hong Kong is one big fight, or 2 separate fights?
I see their phases of it's like 2 different phases of it. Like it's still one fight. Like it's like one fight, but you've got like 2 rounds of it.
Yeah,
that's how I see it.
Fair enough. With the first half looking supposedly being Kong's victor, giving him like a much needed win, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
Though Kong did actually beat these 2 flying monsters that were, let's see, a bit earlier by tech. But we'll get more to that a bit elsewhere. But you got Kong winning round 2. However, the axe was depowered on that stuff. So Godzilla was really on the aggressive attack and was able to claw and stomp on him quite a bit, resulting in, Godzilla being the overall winner in the Kong versus Godzilla fight, which I must admit, I'm surprised that they actually declared a win in this, because compared to like the last time they did the Versus movie, okay. Granted, I guess you could argue Batman did technically had Superman on the ground and stuff, but before the finishing blow could be done, you had the infamous "Save Martha" scene. So, yeah. But here, it's clear that, well, granted, the two do roar at each other. You do have, like, Godzilla being the overall winner of this fight.
For sure.
So, yeah. Of course, they do give some stuff to Kong, to still be proud about, particularly. Let's see. He took out these two flying monsters. Let's see, I don't know what they're called, but with this really funny but yet gross scene of him like eventually eating like the inside, possibly the tongue of one of the monsters, and people go like, ew. But it's clearly reminiscent of what Kong was doing with like the previous film he was in, where he was eating a giant octopus, I believe, or squid. So yeah, Kong has a sort of Kong likes slimy tentacle, gross things, I guess you could say, for his menu. I'm not sure if gorillas in real life eat octopuses at all because, well, due to their location and all that stuff, but heck. But I do not know a gorilla's diet, but yeah. But I do like how, despite the fact that, okay, you have Godzilla beating Kong and stuff, you do have Godzilla doing the final blows against Mechagodzilla.
Oh, for sure. I definitely like that. I was like, okay. That was pretty cool to see.
Yeah. I have to admit. So, yeah. So, yeah, I definitely particularly like with the axe and then holding his head up as like a trophy kind of thing. So, yeah, I like that. I also like how, let's see. I think it makes, no, I have to admit, it's still a bit, strange how quickly the technology has advanced in the Monsterverse, given the fact there's only been 4 films. But I suppose they had to, in a sense, if they wanted to, have Mechagodzilla in it.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't have like Mechagodzilla created in 2014 or even King of the Monsters because, well, that was only just a few years between each other and all that stuff. So yeah, but I suppose, this organization did eventually, for like at least 10 years, apparently, was able to, make technology to finally create Mechagodzilla and have him rival, like, Godzilla or even be stronger, as we saw. Mechagodzilla knew exactly how to fight, Godzilla. And I think even his atomic breath was stronger, which is pretty impressive. But yeah, speaking of which, I do like how throughout the film you see the many ways of Kong trying to cancel out Godzilla from using his atomic breath, either by sticking something in his mouth or just trying to shut it or even elbow it and knock him down and all that stuff. I do like that. But yeah. So one thing I definitely say about the Godzilla versus Kong fights compared to the other monster movie fights, particularly King of the Monsters, is that it's a lot more clear of who's actually fighting who due to the lighting and the effects and all that stuff.
Well, here's the thing. At the very least, in King of the Monsters, like most of that was at night. That's the big
Not
thing.
to mention raining and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the environment kind of didn't really make all the action scenes clear, but this time it's very crystal clear because I'm not sure if that was a criticism they might have gotten from the last films. Like, we cannot see the fights and all that stuff, but this one they've clearly, decided to make sure that people could clearly tell who's fighting, be it whether they're fighting in the ocean, in Hong Kong, or Hong Kong in daylight when they're fighting Mechagodzilla and all that stuff. So,
Definitely.
So, I definitely say, in terms of fighting, this movie probably has the best fight scenes in the entire Monsterverse so far.
Arguably, yeah. I'd say so.
In the Titan Monsterverse, but yeah. I definitely say the effects, and definitely the better effects and all that stuff, but yeah. So, anyway, Lucky Chi, what did you make of the human subplots?
It seemed pretty simple and straightforward, truth be told.
Yeah. No, out of the two human subplots, I think I probably liked the Kong humans more than the Godzilla ones, which is a bit weird because we should be a bit more familiar with like the Godzilla ones since since the characters Mark and Maddie Russell have returned from the last Godzilla movie, though. Granted,
I think I know. I think I know what it is. I think it's because there wasn't really a lot of dialogue per se for Kong's human subplot, but I think, like I said, I think Godzilla's was a bit more straightforward than.
Well, I think
the
that
Kong.
for the dialogue with like the Godzilla ones, they probably were trying a bit too hard, particularly with the conspiracy theory stuff, which made some of them look a bit crazy and all that stuff.
Well, if you go back to King of the Monsters, I could totally see where Maddie gets her idea from.
Yeah, I suppose it makes sense that she become a lot more pro Godzilla after the events, but I definitely say let's see, some of the more conspiracy stuff was a bit okay.
It's a bit of a reach, I'll admit.
So yeah, particularly, I mean, the stuff with bleach and tap water was a bit, yeah, but yeah. No, I guess they were also a bit funny in some places, though. I think the more serious dialogue was probably considered a bit more funnier than the conspiracy stuff, which was supposed to be taken as a bit more of the laughs. But yeah, we got like the new cat. But yeah, I was a bit surprised how little he actually appeared in the film, as he was just
Compared
more.
to his role in the first one, yeah.
Yeah, and no, let's see. Granted, we only saw. Granted, perhaps I should have. Yeah, since he was like the main human for like the last one. Granted, he was only really in one scene in the trailer, so perhaps that should have been a sign. But yeah, but this time it's definitely Maddie that's the main focus on the Godzilla humans and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And she's joined by two new humans. And let's see, first is like Bernie, the conspiracy guy. It was a bit funny, I will admit, but at the same time, a bit. You definitely think he's definitely crazy, but that you definitely really think he's crazy, even though he turned out to be right about the whole apex with the whole Godzilla thing. But yeah, I'm not sure if this movie is telling us to trust our conspiracy theorists or not, but probably not. But who knows? I definitely probably say a few conspiracy theorists would probably feel a bit validated after watching this film. Maybe, or maybe they feel offended. I'm not sure. And the other one, they're joined us by this kid called Josh, who is trying to think, who's he played by? Julian Denson, I believe. Who I think was the kid from Deadpool 2. Yeah, he was that Fire Fist kid from Deadpool 2. You know that kid who Deadpool was trying to save in the film?
Yeah.
That was his probably most famous role before this one. Though he was also I believe a kid for Ricky Baker and Hunt for the Wild People in 2016. So yeah. This film is definitely filled with actors with quite a few credentials. So yeah, he was kind of like sort of like Maddie's sort of best friend, kind of like friend that was kind of like conspiracy that will go along with her, but also concerned about her, but we're also like concerned for her well-being. Particularly, he's not really trusting over like this Bernie guy. Thinks he's a bit crazy, even though Madison thinks he's all right because of like his support of Godzilla. Not to mention, finds the whole vodka wine thing with his like deceased wife to be kind of touching. Let's see, all that stuff. So yeah, we got that. So yeah, I do like how Josh is the one that's able to help Madison get to Bernie, since it's like he knows how to how to get information. It's like have a tip, and he eventually and he's also the one to figure out how to help Kong and Godzilla against Mechagodzilla by pouring like vodka down the computer. So yeah, these humans, and all that stuff. But yeah, I definitely say I like like I said earlier, I like the Kong humans a lot more. Hold on, Lucky Chi, give me a sec. I'm just perhaps give more of your thoughts on the Kong humans for a bit while I'm just getting a tap of water, if that's okay.
I actually don't have much to say, Blue. Like I said, for me personally, I like both subplots pretty evenly. Though I'd say the Kong one's maybe just a tad bit stronger, just a tad bit. If I'm being honest.
Yeah, I'd definitely say the humans and the Kong and probably had a bit more of the advantage of them actually interacting with Kong, particularly the deaf girl Gia, that was the survivor from the native tribe there, which I'm a little disappointed to learn that they all died, but because it was quite nice seeing interactions between like see the Kong Skull Island cast with them from last time, but this allowed, I think, Kong to have a sort of connection with the humans, particularly being a big brother for Jira. And then you had like the other two scientists, such as Nathan and Andrews, with Nathan being a disgraced scientist. Though, granted, when I first saw him, I was wondering, wait, is this the soldier from the first Godzilla movie? Who hasn't really appeared since that film, if I recall.
No, he hasn't.
But no, it's an entirely new character, so yeah. Who seems to be a bit of a disgraced. Who used to work for Monarch, but it's now been disgraced due to people calling his theory of like Hollow Earth nuts. All that stuff. So he's trying to he's got his motives to prove the Hollow Earth theory right, and complete the mission that got his brother killed, but also finding a source to help Kong and all that stuff. While with Dr. Andrews, her main concern is keeping Kong away from Godzilla and also ensuring that Jiro is safe as well as, and she can keep her connection with Kong. But I definitely say that Jiro and Kong are definitely the heart of like their story, particularly of like the connection the two have with. Kong is able to do sign language to communicate with Jiro and all that stuff. Which I must admit, were you shocked when you could see Kong talk in sign language, Lucky Chi?
I mean, I guess I was too surprised by it. I thought the possibility was there since the movie opened up with the sign language things, but that was an intriguing concept.
But definitely adds a lot more to Kong's characters. It shows a sign of intelligence that not been seen from the other Kong films and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention the fact that now he can, to an extent, communicate with humans, though he's only really talking with Jiro, and which Nathan perhaps uses a bit too much to his advantage of completing the mission, really. But he's more of well-intentioned, really. Though Andrews makes it clear that he won't have Nathan do certain things with like Jiro to get Kong to behave and all that stuff. I definitely find it funny how they both, Jiro and Dr. Andrews, think that Jiro that stuff convince them. Dr. Andrews that the sign language for coward is actually brave, and he eventually uses it on them later in the movie when he's trying to call them brave and all that stuff, not realizing that what it actually means and stuff. So yeah, I definitely like that. I do find it, one thing I must admit I do find a bit disappointing is that you had all the human characters from both the Kong and Godzilla plotline standing side by side against each other towards the end of the film, but you don't actually see them talking. So it would have been very interesting to get like the Kong supporters with the Godzilla supporters and give their views on all that stuff between the two monsters. But I don't know, maybe that would build up for like maybe the next Kong versus Godzilla movie.
Who knows?
But yeah. So anyway, Lucky Chi, we talked a bit about Kong's, Kong and Godzilla's human allies. Let's go onto the human villains, as you will, or Mechagodzilla's allies, if you will. What did you make of Apex?
Simple, I think, is the best word I can probably describe them.
Yeah, they're not the most in-depth villains and all that stuff. I mean, the motives is simple enough from the CEO really going on about how, humans wanting to be, humans wanting to, be have the humans become the apex predators again of the species since the survival of the Titans. That's so that's kind of where to put them in the bottom of the food chain. So yeah, create a giant mecha robot to fight them and all that stuff, which is a bit ridiculous. But heck, since I think it's shown in the last film that nukes didn't necessarily like the nuclear weapons that they use or like the oxygen bombs. While maybe it worked on Kong, it doesn't necessarily work on monsters like Ghidorah, who's from outside, who's from another planet, and all that stuff. So yeah, this time let's just have a giant robot to fight them and all that stuff. So yeah. Granted, I have to admit, for the comes to like the daughter, I thought she was kind of silly, particularly when you would see the way she just fired missiles on Kong, which there was no need to do that. And if she didn't, she probably might have escaped there with her life. As Kong just grabs it and just then looks at seeing, okay, my human friends aren't in there, so I'm just going to squash you, killing her. But I do find it funny how the CEO's daughter is dead and he doesn't even know about it. Since he ends up being killed by his own creation.
Yeah.
Other than that, there's really not much to the Apex humans, though I have to admit, I'm a bit disappointed that the son of
Sarazawa.
they didn't really do much with him. I mean, I didn't even know he was the son, really. It would have been interesting to learn his motivations, but who knows? Perhaps maybe they had no motivations in deleted scenes, but they cut it to save on runtime, because I think length was criticized last time on the human plots and all that stuff, so there's that. But it would have been interesting to try and think, okay, the son of Aizawa is joining Apex and he's controlling Mecha Godzilla. Clearly, he either has a different ideals to what his father had when it comes to the Titans, or he blames like Godzilla for his father's death, and so wants revenge. I don't know. It would have been interesting to explore either one of those two options.
Yeah.
I mean, we probably weren't going to get a scene like your father would be so disappointed in you, but still, but yeah. I definitely say that was disappointing and all that stuff. Let's see, what else is there to discuss? So, yeah.
I don't think there's anything else to say.
Well, at least that's the film itself, but I want to talk about like some of the stuff like the future and all that stuff, but yeah. But so overall, but yeah. But one thing I have commented a few times on this, let's see, Godzilla vs Kong is Warner Brothers' second attempt in 5 years after 5 years of Dawn of Justice with Batman v Superman. I've got to wonder, if it came to these two films, which one would you prefer to watch out of curiosity?
Okay, I didn't like both of these movies, but I'd probably pick Godzilla vs Kong just because of the runtime.
I'd probably also pick Godzilla vs Kong because I probably enjoyed this movie a lot more than Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Granted, I've only really watched it one time.
You haven't seen the extended cut either.
No, I've not seen the extended cut. No, whether or not that's actually improved it really depends on who you ask. Some people, from my understanding, some people love it. Though some people still think the movie is bad regardless, just because of the premise. But anyway, so out of curiosity, Lucky Chi, what do you think this movie did? Let's see, what do you think Warner Brothers did well to build up Kong versus Godzilla compared to what they did with DC and trying to build up Batman v Superman?
Well, I think the thing with DC is that, I think you should have had Wonder Woman before Batman vs Superman. I think you could have had that first, and then do Batman, and then get Dawn of Justice. The thing about that worked here is that you technically had 2 Godzilla movies and 1 Kong movie. I'd argue maybe you could have used 1 more Kong movie before you get Godzilla vs Kong, but I think with what they had, they did a pretty good job of setting it up.
So they pretty much at least had 2 films, or though granted, some would say Godzilla didn't really appear much in his first film. But you had at least 2 films that, exploring Godzilla's character, or like at least Godzilla's motivations and abilities and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And you also had one movie, let's see, portraying like a Kong and all that stuff. What his personality, quirks, and all that stuff, and his abilities. So you got a good idea of what this version of Kong and what this version of Godzilla was like. Let's see, would they attack humans? Why would they attack humans? Or what monsters they tend to generally fight and stuff. So you had that. While with like the problem I think with Dawn of Justice, you had one Man of Steel movie, which I wasn't even sure was even intended to build a cinematic universe or just do a modern uptake on Superman, which you either loved or hate depending on who you ask, but we're not going to get into that.
But that's the thing though, and that's been my thing with the. Now I've been okay with the DC extended universe, but even I will say, well, yeah, okay, maybe you could have used one or two more movies before you get Dawn of Justice,
But yeah, but it's like you're pretty much introducing both a Batman and a Wonder Woman. Let's see, which we have not been introduced to before, especially when it comes to Wonder Woman, because she's never had a live action film into like the DC extended universe. It's always been Batman and Superman. Now we have seen Superman and Batman a few times due to like for Superman you had the Christopher Reeves movies, and for Batman you had the original Tim Burton, and then let's see the Batman Forever and Batman and Robin universe kind of thing. The Tim Burton and Joel Schumacher Batman, and then you had the Chris Nolan Batman. But we've never seen what the Snack Snyder Batman is, and he was radically different from the other Batman. So it definitely put up some people like, this is stuff that Batman would not do. Why is he doing this? Which, to be fair, they also did the same with like Man of Steel. But yeah, but either way, you could see. But no, granted. So yeah, you definitely needed like a one. You probably benefited from the Wonder Woman and the Batman movie first before this one. Since yeah, but yeah, DC probably wanted to really build up to like the Justice League as quickly as possible from the looks of things. So they tried to do DC's Holy Trinity before Justice League and all that stuff. But granted, that was probably a mistake because let's see if there's witty now. I know some people witty try to criticize the MCU like and all that stuff, but one thing I definitely say that the MCU got right is before they did like their big Avengers movie and even Versus movie with Civil War, is that you had quite enough time to explore the characters. Where like for the Avengers, you had like a Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, and Hulk film in the Phase 1. And for Civil War, you had 2 Avengers movies, 3 Iron Man movies, and 2 Captain America movies. So you had quite a good general glimpse of these characters before had that and all that stuff. So yeah, but this is mainly Kong versus Godzilla. So I think we talked a bit enough about DC and maybe to an extent Marvel. So we get back to like Kong versus Godzilla. Now, one thing that's very impressive about this film, because as we know, it's the Godzilla King of the Monsters did not either barely break even or did not break even enough for like its profit and stuff. So it looked like it was a financial disappointment. However, this film's budget, however, this film was already in pre-production as like that movie is going. So regardless of the film's performance, we were going to get the Kong versus Godzilla movie.
Yeah, it was going to happen either way.
So, which is thank goodness for it though, because it's like if Godzilla like was a full-on bust, it makes me wonder if they would and this film like was not in production yet. I wonder if they would have tried to scrap it and all that stuff, but thankfully they didn't.
Yeah. Truth be told, if this was, and here's the weird thing: if this movie busted, I honestly speaking would have been okay with this being the ending of the MonsterVerse.
But yeah, but we'll get to that moment in a bit. But yeah, but before that, we just talked about the box office. So due to the fact that we're still sort of in the pandemic, however, pandemic rules are starting to get a lot looser a bit by the time of March to May and all that stuff. However, this movie was also on HBO streaming. However, it was very successful from my understanding in HBO Max. Let's see, due to like let's see, it managed to do pretty well in streaming records. But however, I think one thing that's to notice for this film is how well it did in the box office, and it broke several of the pandemic box office records, and has managed to gross 443 million worldwide, right, against its budget of 155 million to 200 million, breaking even the 330 million it needed to make at the box office. It's become the third highest grossing film of, 2021. Before those who are wondering, the highest grossing films of 2021 are Hi Mom and Detective Chinatown 3. Both of those films are Chinese movies. With Hi Mom making 847 million and Detective Chinatown 3 making 702 million. So yeah. So at the moment, let's see, Kong vs. Godzilla is the highest grossing US film right now. Though also a Japanese film because Toei is also involved a bit. Well, granted, Fast and Furious 9 could potentially surpass it as it's currently got 404 million. But yeah. But still, I have to admit, it's very impressive, despite the fact that they had the pandemic going on. This movie made more than its numbers in the box office and broke even and all that stuff. And it's clearly much more financially successful than the Kong, for the Godzilla versus, Godzilla King of the Monsters film. Wouldn't you say, Lucky Chi?
I'd say so.
And it makes me wonder what happens if this film would have came out during a time when it wasn't the pandemic. Did you think this movie could make twice the box office it did, or maybe even $1 billion?
It's a good question. I'm not sure.
I mean, as far as I can tell, none of the MonsterVerse movies have done that. But for Legendary's MonsterVerse or Warner Brothers, but if you will. But yeah, so far, the box office for each of these films is the highest one is Kong Skull Island that made 566 million, followed by Godzilla, which did 529 million. And this one's in third place with 443 million, with Godzilla's King of the Monsters 386 million. And all that stuff, but yeah. So there's that. So at the moment, none of these films have made like $1 billion at the box office and all that stuff, but at least enough money to break even for the most part and continue to make sequels. So yeah. So who knows? It's very possible that it probably may have made more during the pandemic, maybe at least 600 or 800 at least, but who knows? But granted, that's also the advantage that Kong and Godzilla has compared to the other films, is the fact that this was the first film that most people went back to the cinema after for nearly a year and stuff. And it's like, the cinemas are open again. Come see our movies. So it did have that advantage too. So anyway, so out of curiosity, overall, what would you give this movie a score out of, Lucky Chi?
When it comes to my own personal score, okay, it's not pure perfection, not by a long shot. It's either trending on great plus to amazing. I haven't exactly figured out where that is, but it's around there.
Is that an 8 to 9 out of 10?
Around there, yeah.
For me, I think I'll give it an 8 out of 10. I mean, it's a lot of fun. I think it's given me exactly what I wanted. Kong versus Godzilla. Very good fight scenes and that stuff. The only thing that I will admit is that there's a few questionable subplots in the human stuff, particularly like how advanced the technology has gotten over the years. Not to mention some of them are a bit maybe too conspiracy theorist for my liking, but but maybe that's not too bad really. But yeah, and there are some kind of silly moments I'm like wondering, like, okay, some things I'm questioning about, such as Godzilla's atomic breath shooting all the way down to the hollow Earth. Won't that affect the Earth's environment in some way or something? But I don't know. I guess it's wise not to question the logic too much in these films. But yeah, but overall, it's a fun fight and stuff. So anyway, Lucky Chia, out of the 4 MonsterVerse films, where would you rank this amongst the other ones?
That's tough. Okay, so the first Godzilla movie I'd say is at the bottom, and I like that movie. Make no mistake about that. But again, the Godzilla's in that movie technically, but he's not in it a lot, and that's the one hindrance that that movie has. Kong's above that one. I'd say this one, for the time being, and it's always switching with the King of the Monsters. So I'd say for now, this one's like number 2, and then King of the Monsters is number 1. But like I said, they alternate back and forth, so it's either one. It doesn't really matter too much.
Okay, for me, I've not seen the first Godzilla film, so I need to see it at some point just to see. Let's see whether or not the human characters in that one are either good or not, or either if it's worth watching besides maybe just the fight scenes at the end on YouTube when I get the time. Let's see, as for the other ones, I think I'll put King of the Monsters as third because, well, yes, I do get nice Godzilla fights and all that stuff, I will admit. Perhaps maybe the human characters probably could have used a bit more work on them and all that stuff since we follow them quite a bit. I mean, the only ones that I sort of remember really are like the Let Them Fight guy, which I'm kind of sad that he ended up dying in that film. I thought it was going to be the Nick Fury. Or Shuzawa, I believe his name is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, they try to do quite a bit with like that Mark Russell and his family and all that stuff, who seem to now become the most recurring humans in the Godzilla franchise moving forward, probably. So there's that. And then it'll probably either rotate to me between Skull Island and this movie, Godzilla vs Kong.
Mm-hmm.
Which one I like more? Because, like, on one hand, I definitely say there's a lot more focus on the monsters of Kong and Godzilla and the Titans, as you will, particularly Kong in this one.
True.
However, I definitely say that for Skull Island, you got this nice sort of Vietnam or post-Vietnam movie where you have these humans explore an island and encountering Kong, and I definitely say that Skull Island has the best human subplot and all that stuff within the film. Though that might also benefit to the fact it's got actors like Tom Hiddleston, or Brie Larson, or Samuel L. Jackson. No, but for those people, it'll probably be Tom Hiddleston and Samuel L. Jackson, and John C. Reilly, who's probably the best character in that film, with it as Hank Marlowe. But yeah. So, but granted, yeah, I'd probably need to watch Skull Island again and then watch Kong versus Godzilla to try and make some comparisons. But yeah, I'd definitely say it'll be between those two films for me. But who knows? It may be possible that I'm just more of a Kong fan than the Godzilla fan compared to you. No comment there, Lakichi? No comment to the fact I said I might be just more of a Kong fan and a Godzilla fan compared to you?
I mean, that is what it is. There's nothing wrong with that.
Fair enough. But anyway, Lakichi, but before we head off, I think it's time to talk about the future of the MonsterVerse, since, as we know, no films have been stated, and there's questions on whether or not Toho will allow Warner Brothers and Legendary to continue using Godzilla in their films and all that stuff, as this film seems to be sort of closure for at least a phase 1, if you will, in the MonsterVerse, such as introducing Kong and Godzilla and having them fight against each other.
Mm-hmm.
Now, apparently, the producer in March 2019, producer Alex Grater stated that Legendary hoped to produce more MonsterVerse films if they became successful. And then in 2021, in February, Wingard commented on the future of the MonsterVerse, who I think is Adam Wingard, the director for this one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, commented on how. Let's see, we're seeing that he knows that we could go potentially with future films. Having noted that the MonsterVerse was created to a certain degree to lead towards Godzilla vs Kong, so this is what they were building up to. He has stated that this verse is a crossword saying it's really at the point where audiences have to kind of step forward and vote for more of these things. If this movie's success, obviously they will continue forward. And then on April 4th, 2021, legendary CEO Josh Grodd commented on potential sequels, saying, "We have a number of ideas for more movies." The same month, we got the hashtag Continue the MonsterVerse began trending on Twitter, which gained support from Jordan Vogt Roberts, the director of Skull Island, and was acknowledged by Legendary. And then on the 27th of April, Hollywood Reporter stated that Legendary was quietly taking steps to stretch the series into one or more installments while negotiating with Wingard to return to the direct. And that various ideas were being considered, with Son of Kong being one potential title. So at the moment, we could potentially see another. So we could see, a second attempt of trying to do the Son of Kong, which I have not seen that movie, so I do not know what it's about, really. No, I assume that it's just like assume the title is like Kong had a son and who was probably stuck on the island after Kong was killed in like the original movie. And who knows? I assume that means that we're either going to find out that Kong, if they do the Song of Kong, and let's see, in a future film, we're either going to find out that Kong is actually Queen Kong rather than King Kong, or King Kong finds a witty gorilla mate and ends up having a son with him. All that stuff, but yeah.
Could be.
So we got that, but for other than that, let's talk about some other potential ideas, because one thing I want to bring up is like King Ghidorah, because as we know in the post-credits, here in the King of the Monsters, his skull was sold to like Tyron's character. I know it's not really the Tyron's. No, the actor's not really called Tyron, but that's what I just know. The human villain from the Godzilla movie, where it's the actor who played Tyron Lannister, bought the head, and he clearly had some motives of what to do with it. Now, it's either possible that the head was eventually sold to Apex to create the supercomputer for the Mecha Godzilla. We do not know. Or that, let's see, they're going to use the King Ghidorah head to try and revive him, possibly as Mecha Ghidorah, as they did in the Godzilla vs. Mecha Ghidorah movie, and give like America's take on that. I don't know. Would you be excited for the return of King Ghidorah, possibly?
I don't know if I'd be excited like this soon. I'd say do another Godzilla movie with another character, and then you could have Mecha Ghidorah come in. I think that'd be better.
Yeah. As far as I know, there were quite a lot of Titans that were at the end of Godzilla King of the Monsters. I have no idea what has happened to them all. I'm not sure if they've all gone back to sleep like Rodan did, or something. I know that the Mothra, there's another lava egg for Mothra being about, so there's that. But yeah. So, yeah, at the moment, it remains to be seen. But yeah, we'll probably have Godzilla fighting another human monster, another giant monster at some point. The question is, will America try to use another one of the famous monsters from previous, the 32 Godzilla movies Japan has done, or will they create something original like the Muto? Like they did for the first Godzilla movie they did.
Yeah, it could go either way.
But yeah, but could you also see the possibility of a return of like Mecha Godzilla? Since you can always rebuild him and all that stuff.
I don't think you'd get him in the next movie, but again, maybe like later on down the line, I could see them doing that.
Do you think they'll do like a Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla movie eventually, or do you think he'll appear again for possibly another Godzilla vs Kong movie, or you think they're going to be done with that for a while?
I think for a while they won't touch that.
Yeah, since the two have made pieces amongst themselves, but yeah. But speaking of like, but that's what we can do with like Godzilla. But let's see, what would you something that we might do with Kong? You think they might? Because as we know, the only other film Japan has ever done with Kong was Kong Escapes, and that they introduced Mecha Kong. You think Warner Brothers could be able to convince Toei Films to do like a Mecha Kong for their future Kong movie and stuff?
It's possible.
But yeah, one thing is also to note about is now that Warner Brothers, it's Toei Studio, has allowed Godzilla to appear in American films, particularly with the Kong in their MonsterVerse. It makes me wonder if Warner Brothers or Legendary Pictures will now allow Toei Films to start using Kong again in their films, because because I know that they really wanted to try and do Kong in quite a few of their Godzilla movies, particularly having a rematch, since that was one of the most successful movies in the Godzilla franchise in Japan. Possibly the most successful from what I'm hearing, but yeah. Do you think it's a possibility, Lucky Chi?
I think it's a definite possibility that we could get that. But again, it all depends on what Legendary wants to do. That's the big thing.
But yeah, overall at the moment, we have no idea. Nothing's been confirmed yet, so we probably won't see anything announced until maybe the end of the year or next year. So we'll probably have to wait a few years before the next film.
Probably.
So yeah. Well, it's not like the MCU in which they're able to, due to all the expansive lore and content that they have from the comics, they can keep making movies a year and so forth, and have different superheroes and different genres and scenes to make sure it doesn't stay stale with their Marvel winning formula. So yeah. Though with giant monsters, there's definitely a lot more limits, but it's definitely... But I definitely say the MonsterVerse has been a lot more successful than other cinematic universes of its nature. Particularly like that attempt to create monster movies out of The Mummy, The Invisible Man and stuff. And there's some other films that are trying to make a cinematic universe I'm trying to think of, but besides DC.
I don't think so.
I think that it's on cinematic universes. Let me just type it up. Cinematic universe. Shared universe. Universes in film. Okay, apparently there's attempts to try and make the James Bond series into a cinematic universe. I think there's attempts to try and make the Transformers. And I think there's even like a attempts with Harry Potter and even Star Wars review with like the whole Star Wars once a year film a year thing, but that didn't go as planned after mixed reaction to Last Jedi and then the flop that was Solo. Though granted, Disney and Star Wars are trying to do it again, but this time with the Mandalorian and the TV and Disney Street Plus and all that stuff. So yeah, that's different. But yeah, so far this is the only other like big cinematic universe I can think of besides Marvel and DC in the cinemas. So who knows? Whether or not only Marvel can do it, we'll have to wait and see. But overall, yeah, I'd be looking forward to these films as they were. Though I think, like you said, Lucky Chi, if this was the last film in the MonsterVerse, you'd be fine with it, right?
Mm-hmm. Like if this was the ending, I'd be like, all right, cool.
Fair enough. Well, anyway, I think that's everything that we've covered. We've talked about the history of, let's see, these two monsters fighting and how we got to where we are now, the summary of the movie, our thoughts, and the future. So I believe we're done, Lucky Chi. Thank you for joining me. Lucky Chi?
Yeah, what'd you say?
I was saying thank you for joining me.
Oh, yeah, no, not a problem at all. No, sorry, my mic cut off from it. I was like, oh.
Not to mention, this is the first time we have attempted to talk about a cinematic movie and all that stuff, a blockbuster.
That's true.
Whether or not we'll do so more again, though granted we have talked anime movies on your channel, but this time we've done a live action. But yeah.
True.
Whether or not this becomes a more recurring thing, it remains to be seen. But yeah, for now, I'm Blue Star Saber. Lucky Chi, that's your
I'm Lucky Chi.
So I go again, Lucky Chi.
I'm Lucky Chi.
And we're signing off. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And let's see, yeah, goodbye.
Peace.